Caleb Thorne was 28, a senior advisor to the governor and profoundly single. He had let it be known that an old injury left him with a private affliction, an impediment he never discussed. That a man so impeccably put together, so sharp and commanding, could be flawed in such a fundamental way was a quiet tragedy. One night, Liam had found him staring into the fire, a rare moment of vulnerability on his face. Liam had climbed into his bed, a familiar comfort from childhood, and whispered reassurances, telling his brother not to be sad. If Caleb couldn't, he had said, then he would. Later, he would be pressed into the mattress, breathless, the taste of Caleb on his lips, a dizzying heat spreading through him. Caleb's hand would cup his cheek, asking him to feel, to see if he was truly broken. In that floating, weightless moment, Liam would dazedly think that he seemed to work just fine. He was a detective with the city police. He had nearly drowned chasing a suspect through the Wharf district, and when he came to, it was to the tight, unyielding circle of Caleb's arms. The near-death terror of the water slowly receded, replaced by the solid warmth of his brother. Caleb's voice was frayed when he asked if he was hurt anywhere else. Liam, still shaken, assured him he was fine. The moment Caleb met his gaze, the older man's composure shattered. His eyes were a roadmap of blood vessels against the stark white, the skin beneath them bruised with exhaustion. He had lost all his usual grace. He told Liam the detective work was over. It was too dangerous. Liam sat up, protesting that he loved his job, that he wasn't a child whose life could be dictated. Caleb rarely raised his voice, his affection for Liam bordering on indulgence. But there were lines. When he used Liam's full name, Liam Thorne, a primal instinct made his breath catch, a fear of stoking that quiet anger. This time, however, it wasn't a sharp reprimand or a cold shoulder. It was a sudden, complete loss of control. Caleb surged forward, his mouth claiming Liam's. The kiss was not gentle. It was a desperate, plundering act that stole the air from his lungs. It was the first time, and the shock was a jolt of cold water, then a suffocating heat that reminded him of the river. Caleb's arm was a steel band around him, the kiss wet and consuming, as if he meant for them both to drown together. The initial panic melted into a dizzying, narcotic warmth. Without thinking, Liam's arms went around his neck, a soft murmur of his brother's name escaping his lips. The sound broke the spell. Caleb pulled back abruptly, his hand flying to cover Liam's mouth. He panted, his eyes slowly clearing as sanity returned. His apology was a ragged, desperate whisper, asking if he'd frightened him. Liam was stunned, his body still humming with the aftershock. He unconsciously licked his numb lips, a gesture that made Caleb's eyes darken before he quickly looked away. Liam's insistence won out, and he kept his job. He knew Caleb would never truly deny him what he wanted, but he would find his own ways to protect him. That was their unspoken agreement. Sure enough, his captain, a man who owed Caleb more than one favor, began assigning him cases that were laughably simple. Liam didn't mind. He wasn't ambitious. Easing his brother's worries felt like a worthy accomplishment in itself. He was waiting on the precinct steps, kicking at a loose piece of concrete, when Caleb's Blacktown car pulled up. Liam smiled as Caleb got out, taking his hand and tucking it into the warm pocket of his coat. It was a habit from childhood, a supposed precaution against him getting lost that had solidified into ritual. If Caleb ever forgot, a strange anxiety would prickle at Liam. If anyone were to rank the people who loved him most, Caleb would occupy the top spot, forever unchallenged. He was the Thornes' adopted son. His biological parents, their closest friends, had died in a car crash, and he had been welcomed into their home. He had been raised in the palm of Caleb's hand. Caleb had picked him up from school, overseen his meals, and dressed his scraped knees. When Liam joined the force, Caleb had quietly smoothed his path, calling in favors to ensure he was looked after. Caleb had built a world for him, paving every road and shielding him from every storm. This unwavering, absolute favoritism had shaped him. In Liam's mind, Caleb was infallible, irreplaceable. Hugs, casual touches, leaning against him, all were normal. But that kiss had been something else entirely. Uncontainable. He instinctively tried to pull his hand away, but Caleb's perception was too keen. He saw the flicker of distress on Liam's face and his own expression clouded with regret. He admitted his fault, apologizing for making him uncomfortable. Seeing Caleb so humbled and apologetic stirred a strange ache in Liam's chest. He couldn't bear to see him sad. His brother was never wrong. He tightened his grip on Caleb's hand, telling him not to apologize, that he wasn't angry. He pushed the chaotic thoughts away, concluding that Caleb was just worried about him. The next day at the precinct, his partner, Jake Miller, approached him, his face a mask of frustration as he clutched a stack of case files. He explained that 7 young men had vanished. The latest was the son of a baker downtown, gone while on a simple errand. The boy's parents, who'd had him late in life, were inconsolable. Jake was baffled by the motive. All the victims were between 18 and 22, all with a certain clean-cut look. They were just gone, snatched in broad daylight. Liam asked why he hadn't been looped in. Jake reminded him that after his fall into the river, the captain had ordered him kept off any high-risk cases. The rest of the unit was running themselves into the ground with no leads. Liam saw the exhaustion in Jake's face and reached for the files. Jake recoiled, protesting that he was as scared of Caleb as Liam was. He begged Liam not to put him in a bad position. Liam's voice hardened. He reminded Jake that it was a public duty. Jake, remembering the last time he'd crossed one of Caleb's invisible lines, reluctantly handed over the files with a pained expression. The worn paper held the faces of the 7 missing men. All of them were handsome, the youngest only 18. As Liam laid the pictures out side by side, a strange familiarity pricked at him. He asked Jake if he noticed how the build and features of the victims bore a certain resemblance to him. Jake leaned in, comparing the photos to Liam's face. He let out a sharp hiss of breath. Now that Liam had said it, the similarity was undeniable. It was no wonder he recognized it. Caleb's favorite pastime was sketching him. He'd seen his own face rendered in charcoal and ink countless times, from a gap-toothed child to the man he was now. Jake tried to dismiss it as a coincidence, but his reputation as a jinx preceded him. The moment he suggested it couldn't possibly be that someone was abducting people based on Liam's appearance, Liam knew he had to consider that exact, bizarre possibility. Before his accident, Jake had been the one to cheerfully call out, "Hey, be careful you don't fall in the river." Liam patted his partner's arm gravely, telling him that his words were a clue, and that he should probably try to speak less in the future. On their day off, Jake walked with him through the city, his eyes scanning every face in the crowd. They were in street clothes, hoping to be less conspicuous. As the day wore on with no results, Jake's stomach began to rumble. He dragged Liam into the Sovereign Club, a high-end steakhouse favored by the city's political elite. As they headed to a table, Liam heard the low murmur of conversation and a familiar laugh from a private dining room. His brother's voice. Curiosity got the better of him. Through the crack in the door, he saw a scene illuminated by dim, warm light. A half-dozen men sat around a large table, their voices slurred with expensive whiskey as they toasted Caleb. Caleb himself was relaxed, lounging in his chair, a crystal glass in hand. One of the men, a city councilman, was drunkenly praising Caleb's looks and poise, remarking that he was the subject of many a society girl's dreams. The table erupted in sycophantic laughter. Another man was pushing a young, scantily clad woman toward Caleb, while a beautiful young man knelt to offer him a drink. Caleb merely smiled, a hint of worldly amusement playing on his lips. Liam's life was generally smooth, untroubled by any real angst. But this sight was a shard of glass in his eye. A sudden, inexplicable rage surged through him, a hot pressure building in his chest. A voice screamed in his head, "No, you can't." Before he could even process what he was doing, he was overcome by a wave of raw, acidic jealousy and pushed into the room. Jake tried to grab him but missed, wisely retreating to a safe distance. Caleb looked up, his gaze soft with drink, and saw him. The haze in his eyes vanished instantly, replaced by sharp alarm. He rose, ignoring the stunned silence of his companions, and shielded Liam from their view, asking what was wrong, why his face was so pale. Liam stared at him, the anger curdling into a feeling of profound hurt. He said he didn't feel well. One of the men spoke, his tone dripping with insinuation, remarking on how devoted Mr. Thorne was to his younger brother, a devotion that no beauty could rival. Caleb's voice was quiet but laced with steel as he told the man to be careful. He announced the evening was over. In the car, Liam sat rigidly on the far side of the leather seat, silent. He had a million questions, but all that came out was a dry, angry sniffle. Caleb took his hand, his tone gentle, the kind he used to coax Liam as a child. He asked him again what was wrong. When Liam refused to speak, his voice gained an edge of command. Liam finally mumbled that Caleb smelled of cheap perfume, and he didn't like it. The words sounded childish and possessive, even to his own ears. Caleb was a man of status and power. Socializing, even flirtation, was part of his world. Liam didn't know why he was so angry. A flicker of surprise crossed Caleb's face, followed by a slow, deep smile. He lifted Liam's hand, his thumb stroking his fingers. He asked what Liam wanted him to do about it. When Liam remained silent, Caleb's mood seemed to lighten considerably. He said he understood. Liam was angry that he was close to others. So he asked, would it be better if he was only close to Liam? He leaned in, his voice a low murmur, asking if he was still angry. Liam blurted out that he thought Caleb hated these kinds of events. Caleb sighed, a rare look of weariness on his face. He explained that the governor had him investigating a massive corruption case. It was a high-stakes game. Every day, officials tried to bribe him, flatter him, probe him for weaknesses, hoping he would look the other way. Liam's anger softened into concern. He muttered that it was their own damn fault for being corrupt in the first place. Caleb watched his fierce expression and smiled, then leaned forward and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. It was a gesture from long ago, a comforting motion that disarmed him completely. Caleb's eyes, still clouded from the alcohol, seemed to pull him in. Caleb asked if he was worried for him. Then he opened his arms, his voice a soft request, asking for a hug. Liam hesitated for only a second before nodding. He wrapped his arms around Caleb's waist, and Caleb's arms tightened around him, holding him close. 3 more young men disappeared. The department was in chaos. There was one break. The baker's son had been found. It was his body, buried in a shallow grave in the woods outside the city. In the morgue, the medical examiner pulled back the white sheet. The body was covered in bruises and welts. His back was crosshatched with lash marks. But the worst was the evidence of the brutal assault he had endured before his death. Jake gently covered Liam's eyes, his own voice thick with grief. He confirmed the boy had been tortured for at least 3 days. The department issued a bulletin to monitor all underground clubs and escort services. Anything that might be a front. The faces of the last 3 victims still resembled Liam. The image of the dead boy haunted him. He changed out of his uniform, went to a friend who was a makeup artist, and had her alter his appearance, sharpening his eyebrows and contouring his face. With his hair down, he looked like a softer, younger version of himself. Jake watched him, his stomach churning. He knew what Liam was planning and argued it was insane. If Caleb found out, he would lose his mind. Liam insisted that if his theory was correct, it was a risk worth taking. Jake, ever loyal, disguised himself as a nondescript valet and stayed by his side. After a full day of wandering, Jake was losing hope. He whispered to Liam that maybe they were wrong. Just then, a pregnant woman stumbled towards them, clutching her belly and sobbing that her husband had collapsed. She begged Liam to help her get medicine from a pharmacy just around the corner in an alley. Her distress seemed so real, her belly so impossibly large, that Liam didn't hesitate. Jake yelled for him not to go, but as he reached for Liam's arm, 2 burly men grabbed him from behind, dragging him into a service closet. Liam managed half a shout before a cloth was clamped over his nose and mouth. The last thing he saw was the woman casually pulling a wad of cotton padding from under her dress and smiling. She said this one was a perfect likeness, and that the boss would be very pleased. When he woke up, Jake was unconscious beside him, his face bruised from a struggle. They were in a lavishly decorated room. 5 other young men were huddled in a corner, their eyes wide with fear. Liam recognized them from the case files. He tried to offer a reassuring smile, promising to get them out. One of the boys whispered that there was no escape. They warned him to just do whatever he was told if he wanted to live. The door was kicked open. A large man looked Liam over and grinned, remarking that the new one was the prettiest. He was dragged into another room. The air was thick with the cloying scent of incense and sweat. On a large bed, 2 men were entangled, their bodies slick and pale in the dim light. The sounds of pained grunts and heavy breathing filled the air. The man on top rolled over, his eyes landing on Liam. It was Councilman Miller. He didn't stop what he was doing as he appraised Liam, noting that the resemblance to Caleb Thorne's precious little brother was uncanny. He promised to personally teach Liam how to be useful. Caleb, the investigation, the lookalikes, the pieces slammed together in Liam's mind. They weren't trying to hurt Caleb by hurting him. They were trying to bribe Caleb with him. The councilman's insinuating voice from the restaurant echoed in his head. Liam spoke, his voice surprisingly steady. He listed the crimes: illegal detention, kidnapping, torture, murder. Miller paused, pushing the other man away. He laughed, a mocking, ugly sound. He told Liam that speaking up had just sealed his fate. He called for his men to kill him. Just as he finished speaking, the window shattered inward. A dark figure moved like lightning. It was Marcus, one of Caleb's personal bodyguards. A knife was at Miller's throat before he could scream. 3 more projectiles flew from Marcus's hand, embedding themselves in the wrists of the men rushing into the room. They collapsed without a sound. Liam had been kidnapped once as a child. Ever since, Caleb had insisted on protection. The moment Liam had been taken, Marcus's partner, David, would have gone straight to Caleb. Minutes later, the sounds of a full-scale raid erupted outside. Caleb stormed in, his face a mask of cold fury. his eyes promising a slow and painful death for Miller. Liam simply said his name. Caleb rushed to him, grabbing his arm and pushing up his sleeve, his gaze fixing on a red mark from the struggle. His voice was dangerously soft as he told Miller that he had just signed his own death warrant. The smell of urine and blood filled the room. In the aftermath, Caleb's fear festered into a suffocating silence. He wouldn't speak to Liam. At the precinct, Jake, nursing a split lip, gave him a look of pity and a gesture that meant, "You're on your own." Liam finally tugged on his brother's sleeve, pleading with him not to be angry. Caleb looked at him, his expression completely out of control, a raw desperation beneath the surface. He told Liam that if anything had happened to him, he wouldn't have been able to live. The words were too heavy, too absolute for brothers. He pulled Liam into a fierce embrace, his words a torrent against his ear. He explained that Miller's actions were his fault. The councilman knew he couldn't be bought with money or power, so he had targeted the one thing he knew Caleb cared about. He had tried to find a substitute for Liam, a gift he thought Caleb would appreciate. Pathetic, laughable idea. His secret thoughts. Liam's mind roared, his heart hammering against his ribs. Caleb's eyes were burning, intense. Liam shook his head, denying it, claiming he didn't understand. But Caleb pressed on, his voice raw. He told Liam that everyone has a weakness, a pressure point. For him, it was Liam. He asked if he understood now. Liam's mind went blank. He tried to push Caleb away, a gesture Caleb misinterpreted as rejection. A bitter, self-mocking smile touched Caleb's lips. He asked if it was disgusting. He confessed he didn't know when his feelings had changed, only that by the time he realized it, they were fused to his very bones, impossible to remove. For the first time, the man who navigated the treacherous currents of politics with ease looked utterly defeated. He stepped back, covering his face with his hands, his voice muffled as he asked Liam what he thought. He looked so lost. Liam fought the urge to rush into his arms. The faces of his adoptive parents flashed in his mind. They loved him, cherished him. He couldn't betray that love, couldn't tarnish the reputation of their perfect, brilliant son. He whispered that Caleb was his brother. The result of that confession was a cold, empty house. Caleb was gone before Liam woke and returned long after he was asleep. Jake, ever the unintentional harbinger of doom, tried to cheer him up by speculating that maybe Caleb was finally getting married. The thought, voiced by Jake of all people, sent a spike of pure terror through Liam. He snapped at him, yelling that Caleb would never get married. The outburst shocked them both. Liam apologized, admitting he didn't know what was wrong with him. That night he dreamt. Caleb was at an altar, lifting the veil of a bride. He was holding a glass of champagne, his smile the familiar, gentle one he always wore. But his words were like shards of ice. "Liam," he said, his voice echoing, "come and meet your sister-in-law." He woke up with a strangled cry, drenched in sweat. And Caleb was there, his voice cutting through the nightmare. He was asking if he'd had a bad dream. Liam broke. The days of silence had worn him down. He threw his arms around Caleb's waist and sobbed, burying his face in his chest. But Caleb didn't hug him back. He stood stiffly, a silent statue. Liam, acting like a desperate child, took Caleb's limp hand and placed it on his own back, begging him through his tears to just pat his back, to comfort him like he used to. Caleb pulled his hand away. The rejection was a physical blow. The distance between them felt immeasurable. He whispered that Caleb was deliberately hurting him. Caleb's voice was strained. He reminded Liam that he was the one who said they were only brothers. that their old intimacy was improper. Liam clung to him tighter, refusing to let go. He choked out that he didn't want this. He wanted Caleb to only look at him, to love him like before. But the words were selfish. He wanted everything: his parents' approval and his brother's all-consuming love. He'd never considered what it must be like for Caleb. Caleb gently pushed him away. He told Liam that he was human, that he felt pain, that it was cruel for Liam to demand his complete devotion while expecting him to watch him one day build a life with someone else. He told Liam that if he couldn't accept him, then he had to learn to live without him. He would always care for him, but not in the way he had before. He needed Liam to decide what he really wanted. Then, for the first time in his life, Caleb turned and walked away from him, leaving Liam alone with a tearing pain in his chest. Days passed in a haze of misery. One evening, an inexplicable anxiety seized him, a sharp, painful squeezing in his chest. He called for David, asking why Caleb wasn't home yet. The bodyguard hesitated, his eyes evasive. Liam grabbed his arm, demanding the truth. David's partner, Marcus, finally knelt, his voice low. "Mr. Thorne had been ambushed while tracking Miller's remaining associates. He'd been brought back by the security team. A gunshot to the shoulder, a knife wound to his side. It was serious. His last order before losing consciousness was not to disturb Liam." A wire snapped in Liam's brain. The world went silent except for the frantic drumming of his own heart. In that moment of pure terror, he wondered if he could even survive if Caleb died. The thought was a physical agony, stripping away all reason. He no longer cared if his feelings were dependence or desire. He only knew that Caleb was more important to him than his own life. He stumbled into the bedroom. The smell of blood and antiseptic was overwhelming. Caleb lay on the bed, his face as white as the sheets. A brutal, stitched wound ran from his ribs toward his heart. He looked fragile, as if he could slip away at any moment. As Liam approached, Caleb's eyelashes fluttered. He managed a weak smile. The sound of his own name from Caleb's lips broke the dam, and tears streamed down Liam's face. He choked out that it was his fault, that he was sorry. He didn't care about right or wrong anymore. He just couldn't be without him. He begged Caleb not to hide from him again. Caleb tried to lift a hand to wipe his tears but couldn't. He just brushed his thumb against Liam's arm and told him not to be afraid. Liam didn't know how he got through the next few days. He barely ate or slept, constantly checking Caleb's breathing, his fear a living thing inside him. He curled up against Caleb's chest, seeking solace in his warmth. The overwhelming need, the dependency he now recognized as something more, made him cling to the man in the bed as if he were a lifeline. He begged him to wake up. He leaned down, pressing soft, desperate kisses to his eyelids, his brow, his temples, the way Caleb used to comfort him. Exhausted, he finally drifted off, his head resting on Caleb's arm. When he woke, it was to Caleb's voice. He was awake. Liam shot up, his questions tumbling out in a panicked rush. Caleb caught his hand, his gaze intense. He pulled Liam down into his arms. Liam panicked, remembering his injuries, but Caleb held him fast, his arm a strong band around his waist. He rested his chin on Liam's head, telling him to stay still, that it would hurt his wounds more if he moved. He held him, stroking his back, murmuring that he knew Liam hadn't been eating or sleeping, that he knew how scared he'd been. He told him to rest, that everything was okay now. Safe in his arms, Liam slept deeply for the first time in days. The next time he woke, the space beside him was cool and empty. He ran from the room, shoeless, and found Marcus in the hall. He learned Caleb was in his study handling work. Liam grabbed a robe, furious that he wasn't resting. Marcus stopped him, explaining that Mr. Thorne had given an order. Liam was not to be allowed in until he had eaten a proper meal. The study door was ajar. Caleb sat at his desk, his dark hair unbound, a white bandage stark against the skin of his shoulder. He was writing with his left hand. Liam scolded him for not resting. Caleb replied softly that he had something important to say. Liam walked over, straddled his lap, and kissed him. Caleb froze, his eyes wide with shock. Then the kiss turned desperate, a release of all the pent-up fear and longing of the past weeks. It was Liam who pulled back first, remembering his injuries. Caleb stopped him, his voice thick and raw, begging him to stay. Liam wrapped his arms around Caleb's neck, burying his face in his shoulder. He confessed how terrified he was of losing him, more than anything. He admitted he was still confused, that he couldn't label his feelings, but that he needed him. He took Caleb's hand and pressed it to his own heart, whispering that it hurt too much to be apart. He asked if Caleb could just love him forever. Caleb closed his eyes, a low sound that was half laugh, half sob escaping him. He said yes, always. He pulled Liam closer, and his mouth found his again. The door opened without a knock. Caleb's mother, Eleanor, stood there, her face ashen. Behind her, his father's expression turned to thunder. He bellowed Caleb's name, asking what in God's name he was doing. Liam scrambled off Caleb's lap, the courage he had just found evaporating under his parents' horrified stares. Caleb pulled a throw blanket around Liam's shoulders and knelt before them, shielding him. He said it was all his fault. Liam rushed to kneel beside him, insisting he was to blame, that he loved him too. Caleb calmly told his father that the hospital had confirmed an old injury had left him sterile. He would never have children. If his father didn't believe him, he could call the doctor. The room fell silent. Eleanor looked from her son's resolute face to Liam's terrified one. She knelt and cupped Liam's face. She told him they loved him like their own son, that all they ever wanted was for him to be happy, to marry a good woman and build a life. Liam shook his head, his voice trembling but firm. That wasn't the life he wanted. He only wanted Caleb. That night, Liam crept into Caleb's room. He curled up beside him, his hand gently tracing the outline of the bandages on his ribs. He whispered, asking if it hurt. Caleb's arm came around him, pulling him close. He admitted that it did a little. He asked for a kiss to make it better. Liam obliged, a soft, tentative press of lips. As they lay there in the dark, Liam whispered into Caleb's ear, a secret just for them. He told him not to be sad about his injury, that if there were things he couldn't do, he would do them. Caleb's chest shook with a silent, heartfelt laugh. He asked if Liam knew how. Liam replied that of course he didn't, but Caleb could teach him. He taught him everything else, hadn't he? In the family study, Eleanor faced her eldest son. The air was thick with unspoken words. She told him that his father and Liam were out for the day. She said the story about his injury might fool his father, but it wouldn't fool her. Caleb didn't deny it. He knew his father's greatest concern would be the family line. With that removed, he would eventually relent. But Caleb admitted he had no intention of marrying anyone else, nor would he allow Liam to suffer. Eleanor's voice was cold. She accused him of knowing her, of knowing his father, of manipulating them all, of trapping Liam, who was too innocent to understand. Caleb's calm expression cracked, revealing something wild and obsessive beneath. He did not regret it. His mother's voice rose, laced with pain. She accused him of cultivating Liam's dependence, of pushing him to an emotional precipice and giving him no choice but to fall into his arms. She said his greatest sin was that he had planned to trap Liam for life, even if the boy never truly loved him back. Caleb's laugh was soft, unsettling. He admitted she was right. On this one matter, he would not tolerate any outcome but the one he desired. To lose Liam would be to lose his own life. The injury, he confessed, had been a blessing. It had forced Liam's hand. He was almost mad with happiness. Eleanor's composure broke. She told him he was the one who was truly mad. She said she would give Liam a choice. She called him into the room. Liam stepped inside. Caleb's composure finally crumbled. He turned, his eyes wide with a terror Liam had never seen before. He looked like a child caught in a devastating lie. A wave of profound pity washed over Liam. He looked at this brilliant, powerful man, now so utterly vulnerable, and all the confusing threads of his emotions. Respect, admiration, dependency, love, plaited themselves into a single unbreakable cord. He knelt before his mother, taking her hand. He told her that even knowing everything, he chose this. He chose Caleb. Caleb's love, however flawed and possessive, had been the one constant of his life. It wasn't a mistake. A tear fell from Eleanor's eye. She looked at Caleb and told him that while Liam forgave him, she did not. When Caleb had fully recovered, his parents returned to their country home. One evening, Caleb called Liam over to his desk. He stared at him, his eyes burning with years of suppressed desire. Liam felt a prickle of danger and took a half step back. Caleb's voice was a low command. "Come here. I'll teach you." He was a masterful teacher. A few kisses and Liam was boneless, melting against him. Caleb's breathing grew heavy, his fingers finding the tie of Liam's sweatpants. He paused, his eyes asking a silent question. Liam nodded, leaning in to kiss the corner of his mouth. A low chuckle rumbled in Caleb's chest as he undid the knot. The intimacy was overwhelming. Liam could feel the wild thunder of Caleb's heart. Then, a thought surfaced. He started to ask about his injury. Caleb's lips were at his neck. "Liam," he murmured against his skin. "Touch me. See if I'm better." His hand guided Liam's. A blinding white light exploded behind Liam's eyes, a broken chain of Caleb's name spilling from his lips. Caleb's voice was a hoarse whisper in his ear. "Not Caleb. Say my name." "Caleb," Liam gasped. "No," Caleb insisted, his voice a mix of raw need and infinite tenderness. "Wangshu." He captured Liam's hand, guiding him. A wave of sensation crashed over him, and all he could do was repeat his brother's name, his true name, over and over. Later, wrapped in the safety of Caleb's arms, listening to the steady beat of his heart, Liam felt a profound sense of peace. Caleb's voice was a soft rumble against his ear. He said that talking about life always sounds like an exaggeration, but nothing less could describe how much he loved him. He thanked him for being willing to love him back. Liam couldn't speak. He could only nod. His vision blurred. His entire world narrowed to this single, perfect point of contact. It was the only place he had ever truly belonged.